Well, do you know what? I still going to say Magnus is going to edge it because Magnus is the king of comebacks. He's shown us time and time again that he's able to lose a match and just continue as if nothing else has happened. And so I think that he's the slight favourite. But Firouzja, I have to say, I did check the stats of last year's Champions Chess Tour, and he has a better score against Magnus on the tour last season.
Ah, interesting. Magnus Carlsen, he is ready. What will be the first move from Alireza Firouzja? Talking to the arbiters, maybe something about the spectators. But here we go.
Here we go. It is a King's Pawn opening as predicted, and Jovanka's going to be very happy with this one. It's the Caro-Kann defence.
Yeah, I suspected something like this might happen. And, well, Magnus is just simply locking it down. You know, he's going to go for a solid game. I'm always very surprised when Magnus plays the Caro-Kann because I remember in his streams he kind of said, well, it's not necessarily an opening that suits him that well. And here we have the two knights defence. And this move I have never seen before. So now you've caught my attention, Magnus. What have you got up your sleeve?
Do you want to know a secret, guys?
Yep.
Magnus was playing the Caro-Kann at the Olympiad. And I think he wanted to play this move. I think he had it prepared up his sleeve. It's an idea of Jordan van Forest's, one of his seconds, of course, during the World Championship match last year. And it does ask White the question, how are you going to kind of move in the centre? White is... OK, Magnus, is he smiling there? White cannot develop in the way that he wants to. White wants to throw pawns forward in the centre. It's not possible. Magnus definitely laughing. He's just happy he got in the first surprise. And already Firouzja is thinking on move 3, move 4.
Wow.
It's a weird move. I'm not sure it's a good move. I looked at it a bit myself a while ago. I think White has various ways to obtain an advantage, but they are not through normal means.
OK.
And one of White's best moves here is actually to move the White Queen, bring the White Queen out. Magnus really looking happy with himself.
Yeah.
Proud of this Queen sortie. Yeah, don't try this at home, guys. The Black Queen shouldn't really be developing this early. She might get kicked around a bit later. But it's just the surprise effect, the psychological value here.
But is it something Jordan has played before, or is it a novelty for Magnus?
Jordan has played it before.
Okay.
I checked this on the database myself a while ago. I think Jordan has played this before in Blitz, in Rapid Chess as well. It's very much in kind of a speed chess speciality. I think in a long game you wouldn't play this necessarily because with best play, White obtains an advantage. But in Rapid Chess, it might cost Firouzja here 5-6 minutes just to kind of get out of the opening in a situation he's happy with. I think this is the main idea behind the opening. Black now is able to achieve a very typical idea. Black's light squared bishop out on a nice square, and White's knight cannot jump into the centre. Neither of the White knights can jump into the middle of the board because actually the Black Queen covers some key squares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, you know, as someone who played the Scandinavian a lot when I was younger and also the Caro-Kann now, this looks like a great hybrid. White hasn't jumped forward and put pressure on Black's position. And if Black is just allowed to continue, just develop the knight, get the dark square bishop out, he stands really, really well. Got the dream Caro position.
Yeah, Black will be very solid. It will be hard for White to create anything. I'm expecting Firouzja at some point to start pushing some pawns in the centre. There we go. And yeah, Magnus is going to just put up this wall of pawns. He's going to say, OK, White can do what he wants on his first 4 ranks, but stepping forward any further will be difficult.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm just...
taste. I mean, I think Jovanka, it's that Caro-Kann and Scandinavian experience is going to... Magnus is laughing to himself now.
Yeah.
Really surprising.
I mean, we see this when he sits at home in regulars, but in the arena, I've never seen this.
Public with dozens of people there in the arena.
Well, the spectators getting value for their money.
I'm guessing maybe someone told him something very funny along the way to the venue, because I had a very interesting chat with his father, Henrik Carlsen, and he was saying that they actually make an effort and prepare to put Magnus in a good mood, because Magnus in a good mood plays fantastic chess.
OK, so this is a good sign for the Magnus fans.
I think so. It means he's relaxed, he's not tense, and he's just going to be enjoying himself. Now, here we have Alireza. He's actually gone hunting the light square bishop. He wants to trade a knight for the bishop. And normally, Black isn't that bothered, to be honest. Yes, White will get the bishop pair, but instead, the focus will be on just developing the pieces and later on in the game putting pressure on the semi-open line, the D line.
Yeah, I can tell in your voice, Jovanka, you love this for Black.
Yeah, but also I found his humour a bit contagious because I just started laughing as well, just because he was laughing.
We should mention, though, there is a big trend that when Magnus starts laughing, he ends up blundering or losing games. And also, when Magnus has the Caro-Kann, as you mentioned, his score is actually not great. It's far kind of inferior to his score in the E4, E5 types of openings and in the Sicilian defence. Magnus has lost some key games. His unbeaten streak against Duda ended when he played the Caro-Kann in the Olympiad. He drew with Black against a lower-rated player with the Caro-Kann defence. I remember several losses, actually, for Magnus throughout the tour and other events. So he tends to obtain a decent position here. It's solid enough, but does it suit his style? And Simon, you mentioned you'd prefer white. Why is that?
Well, I certainly preferred white a couple of moves ago, just because I was looking at Black's development. I mean, look at Black's king. It's going to take Black 3 moves to get castled. You've got a knight and the bishop in the way. You don't want to castle queenside in these positions, I wouldn't have thought. And for me, with the white king castle, that's like a bit of a red rag. It's like, OK, I would have been very tempted to push the B pawn up 2 squares earlier on, something like this, play something a bit more aggressive to try and take advantage of the fact that Black is very badly developed. Now, though, after knight h4, I have to say, I don't think Black has any problems. Black's going to get rid of this so-called bad light square bishop. We saw this was a theme yesterday. If that bishop was back on its original square, it'd be a tremendously bad piece because it's caged in. But now you're going to get rid of that. So I think, I'm wondering if White's going to try push in Freddie the F-pawn, but Black can stop that idea immediately by attacking the knight that's just moved. But yeah, I mean, I have to say now it looks fine to me. Black's got the typical Caro-Kann set up, and if you're playing the Caro-Kann, you've got to be happy with this position. I just think maybe White earlier on could have done something a little bit more aggressive, potentially.
And this is an interesting bishop move from Magnus Carlsen, because the idea that you mentioned, Simon, of pushing the F-pawn just to kind of destabilise, harass the light square bishop, it is a common theme. And often, where you can, you kind of want to develop your knight to the E7 square, just to control that F5 square much more.
Yeah, Black is rock solid, and it's going to be hard to achieve this push. It's going to be extremely hard to achieve this push. Therefore, White maybe has to slow down the pace of the game and just manoeuvre. And yeah, this pawn push is very committal. I remember Mikhail Tal doing this a few times as White and getting really dodgy positions, but making it work. Instead, Firouzja goes with maybe the more traditional way of pushing pawns, and he gains a bit of space here, hinting that he might try and explode open the centre at some point. Jovanka, I think you're right. Black might choose this square for the Black Knight. The reason Firouzja doesn't rush, and probably won't rush in the near future by taking this bishop, is because suddenly Black's rook and Black's bishop both point down in this direction. It looks a bit scary now for the White king. So I think he'll delay this capture as long as possible. He'll try and only capture here once the Black king has castled on this side. We'll see a waiting game now, both sides just trying to put their pieces on good squares.
Magnus has started a little bit of a think. No, moving his queen back.
Undeveloping pieces. I mean, yeah, don't try this at home. I've got to say it again, because he's breaking all the rules, Magnus. He's hitting this knight. He's trying to force a capture of his bishop, because, as mentioned, this would open up the rook. Maybe the queen actually wants to jump out now, and Magnus wants to deliver some really basic checkmate.
David, sorry, I have cheated, because I was wondering why the evaluation bar's gone up massively in Firouzja's favour, and there's a tremendous move here.
Wow.
A tremendous move, which is actually very logical, considering the underdevelopment and the amount of time that Black has simply wasted here.
Just to blast open the centre,
I mean,
because this is the most thematic
definitely
thing.
I reckon this is totally a Firouzja move as well. He loves attacking. This move could cause a lot of problems for Magnus, according to the engine.
Wow.
Because Black's king is in the middle. This has been a danger, and you're going to get your piece back this way. So yeah, sorry, but just this had to be mentioned. It's such a dangerous move.
Yeah, and there we see Simon Stockfish, the computer, does confirm that this is by far the best move. Retreating the white knight, for example, even capturing the bishop or stepping back, those are decent too, but this is the strongest. And you mentioned White will gain the piece back. You're giving your knight away on the edge of the board for free. But after a capture, I'm guessing this way, suddenly White's queen is the one unleashed against this bishop, and you have a threat against the black knight. So one of those two pieces would drop. For example, pawn takes pawn, and the white queen jumps in, and yeah, black's position is just in ruins. The king's stuck in the middle. So will Firouzja find this really, really strong idea? He doesn't.
But he might combine this idea and now perhaps just try to blast open the centre.
You could still try. I guess maybe slightly less effective now because there could be a trade. At the very least, black could block it up. You still have to worry about the queen coming in. He has played this, however. We are going to see fireworks. Firouzja on the attack already.
All right, the action has started inside the arena. But Tanya, we're also very excited to meet some of the spectators that have taken the trip to Miami to follow these top players.
Absolutely, Kaya. As the fireworks are on over the board, we can feel it with our spectators. There's a lot of discussion going on and they're whispering to each other because we can see it is getting hot on the boards. Well, there's one family that's driven 5 hours to come and watch their favorite players in action. And let's find out what it's like to be here. Hey, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. All right, tell us a little bit about you. And you play chess?
Yeah, so I've been playing for 7 years, so I first figured out my passion for the game when I was 6 in school where we had a tournament. Well, I did pretty good, and then I saw that maybe I do have like the talent for this game.
Wow. And Anya, what about you? Are you excited to be here?
I'm super excited. I've been watching Magnus Carlsen's game, and when I started watching them and started going to tournaments, I actually started getting at least 5 or 6 points. And I started playing 6 months ago, watching my brother play.
That's so cool. And what's it like to actually see them live in action here?
Super exciting. I love it.
So safe to say you guys are rooting for Magnus?
Yes.
All right, well, enjoy the games. It's getting pretty intense in there. As you can see, everyone from across the country is here to enjoy the chess. Back to you guys.
We love it, Tanya. Thank you so much. So cool to see everyone traveling to Miami to see these players. And of course, we also love everyone around the world watching this from at home.
Yeah, absolutely. We really love having your support, and the players do as well. So today, for our selfie competition, we are asking, how are you cheering for your favourite player? Do you have your foam fingers? Do you have some special hats? Special, I don't know. Signs could be anything. Well, anyway, we want to see. We want you to show us. As always, you can tweet your selfies using the hashtag #ChessJams, and one winner will get 1 year's Chess24 Premium membership. So look forward to seeing who are you cheering for and show us how.
I'm thinking also like chants, like you would have in a football, soccer arena.
Oh, my God.
Songs for the favorite players. Can you guys come up with some cool, you know, Magnus Carlsen or Firouzja songs?
Our viewers are just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, they really just completely blow me away with their ingenuity. So I can't wait to see what they're going to come up with. I reckon there will be rhymes, there will be songs, there will be signs, there will be big foam fingers.
Yep.
What else?
Something to have Magnus Carlsen smile. He is smiling. Still, Magnus Carlsen. He's having a lot of fun in the start of this game. But the bar is not overly excited about his position on the board. Does it have anything to do with the game, David, that he's smiling, or do you think it's something completely else?
Who knows at this point? I don't think I've ever seen Magnus this happy. And I don't think it's the position. The position is still complicated enough to make black sweat a bit, especially while, as Simon mentions, that black king is a massive target in the centre. Maybe it's to do with the music he's listening to or something connected with this opening. We have seen Magnus kind of freestyle with some weird, wacky openings in the past, and it tends to kind of get him in a good mood. So I have a feeling it's more to do with the opening or the music rather than the current position on the board. But what do you guys think? It does look a bit scary still for black.
It does, yeah. I mean, my initial thought is, what if black goes to checkmate? So maybe we can show this lie, because it's the most forcing. I don't think it works out very well, but we can show it. So you could, as black, try to use the placement of the rook and throw the queen in, and this threatens checkmate. There's only really one decent way of stopping that. You've got to move the pawn, and now it might be, oh, can black win a pawn here? But this is going to backfire massively, and if black tries to win a pawn, I think he's going to get his queen trapped at the end of it. So there's like little tricks here, and this just shows that black at the moment can't go on the offensive if, you know, this bishop move here just trapping the queen. The queen has no squares to go to. So it's more like there are some quite big issues to solve in the centre of the board for Magnus. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but it's very unpleasant. I would be very unhappy here I wouldn't be smiling as much as Magnus, I feel, trying to just work out how do I get my king safe, because that is numero problem. Actually, problem numero one. OK, threw the queen in, and maybe that's all right on its own. That's certainly probably not a terrible move, but you don't want to take the knight next move. Is it you can't castle queen side? So I'm just really interested to know how's he going to stop these issues?
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, David mentioned trying to close down the centre. Is that the way to do it? That would be the normal way to try and play? Try to close the area of the board where you're getting attacked down?
He's actually captured with the other pawn.
OK, interesting. So he's taken with the pawn and he has blocked it. Maybe he just wanted to keep his bishop open on this diagonal. It felt a bit loose somehow, but I guess the reason he put his queen on this square is that the white knight can no longer kind of go and kick away the blockader of white's passed pawn in the middle of the board now. As long as black gets kind of two moves, if black can get his knight out and castle, probably on the king side, he'll be happy. Yeah. It's just about whether Firouzja gives him that time, that luxury.
Yeah, and the thing is, he has to put the knight on that particular square, because so if you put it, say, for instance, on the e7 square, I know it's white to play, the bishop will actually come out to b5 and pin the knight and say, well, you know,
maybe,
king is going to stay in there.
Maybe you can do that anyway, Jovanka. I mean, that looks like the logical move to me, with a check coming up next. I don't see how black's going to easily get castled after that bishop comes to that square. And I think it is, you know, you've got to be quite aggressive here with the white pieces, because, David, you pointed out, if black castles, he's fine. He's got a blockade in the position. So you want to try to play very aggressively here as white, I think. Stop that castling, at least discombobulate black a little bit in the position.
I mean, if black is forced to, for example, meet a check with just a king move, then at least these two rooks will never be connected, they'll never join up, and the black king will always feel a bit uncomfortable. Likewise, I like this move, Simon, just because you're kind of trying to ask black to castle on the other side of the board, but here it's much more open, the black king. There are kind of squares around it, it's a bit airy. You could definitely imagine white kind of pushing pawns later to explode open lines towards this piece. And yeah, that looks natural, that looks strong. Very logical as well, just trying to go for this black king while there's an opportunity. But he needs to be quick, Firouzja. He just can't play slowly and let the black king castle this side to safety. Then I think Magnus will start doing Magnus things and kind of start outplaying his opponent, simply because this pawn will become more of a weakness than a strength if black's king gets to safety.
Look at that. It's packed inside the Miami arena. The spectators sitting only a few meters away from the players fighting in the tournament. Do you think they're noticing them, Simon?
I doubt it in some way, because they're kind of like really focused. You get in the zone when you're playing. I mean, all these guys, we've got to remember, they are used to playing with big crowds. They've just come from the Olympiad in India, where I mean, David and Jovanka, you were there, but you said it took you half an hour to get to the board because of so many people. So it's like they're used to having a crowd there, and you kind of, you know, you zone out a little bit for the people there. I love the idea that Jovanka mentioned earlier of giving the crowd the headset so you could hear, because they had that once in the '93 World Championships, Kasparov versus Nigel Short. And I remember I was there, and they had to actually stop the commentary because they were cracking so many jokes that the crowd would just all of a sudden start laughing, and Nigel would be like, "They're laughing at my move, like, you know, what's going on?" And like, you know, because of the commentary. But OK, we have another move on the board now, which seems very slow, but it's maybe getting the rook around, I guess.
Yeah, really interesting. White's rook in the corner would have taken kind of ages otherwise to activate it. It's just going to slide up 2 squares and maybe swing across somewhere. But as you mentioned, Simon, it's slow, and maybe black's king can now kind of hurry away to safety on that side of the board. So yeah, I'm expecting Magnus, without too much thought, to bring his knight out, the knight that's not developed, and castle with haste. Yeah, I mean, that move, it's slightly slow. It just doesn't feel like it hits the nail on the head. It feels like the action should have been taking place in the centre. But, OK, we can't be too critical. It doesn't worsen white's position at all. One thing black shouldn't be tempted to do is what you said a couple of moves ago, Simon, take that white knight with the black bishop. Black's bishop is actually the key piece sitting in front of white's pawn in the middle. He's got to be a blockader. And, OK, Magnus thinking, however.
Yeah, maybe Magnus was taken by surprise by that move because we weren't expecting it. It didn't seem to us the most logical move, which was to introduce pieces into the attack.
Still smart.
But he's like laughing away. I mean,
And with that hair, he reminds me of John Travolta in Greece with that going forwards.
He's Latin.
Yeah.
People have mentioned him and Neiman might have the same hairdresser. I don't know. Do you think
Jealous they have that much hair.
Yeah.
Hans Niemann, he is fighting today against Levon Aronian. It's a prestigious one, All-American against Levon Aronian playing in Miami. Levon must be said to be a big favorite. Hans Niemann still on 0 points in the tournament, but he has given us a lot of entertainment and he has had some great moments. He did win a game against Magnus Carlsen. Magnus actually has lost a few of the first round games this tournament. Is this a big chance for Alireza in that first game when Magnus is maybe a little out of focus in the start of the day?
Yeah, there is this saying that Magnus starts slow. He always finishes high. He always, when he needs to, he tends to win. But in these first games, maybe just kind of getting into the zone takes a while for Magnus. And yeah, I think this first game is key. If Firouzja takes a lead, I think we're going to have a really dramatic match. Ivanka, you spotted something.
no, I haven't spotted. I was just looking at Magnus is like laughing.
Why is he laughing so much? I mean, it's like
Firouzja is just doing like some kind of dance.
Firouzja is definitely listening to some rap music.
Some kind of, I don't know, but he's digging whatever he's listening to, and I like it. And
Chill vibe in
Yeah.
Miami today.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, these are cool dudes. And, you know, on the subject of chanting, you kind of asked Kaya whether our viewers could come up with chants. Well, Swapnil Valvi says, here's a chant for Prag chess. We've got the King Prag. I just don't think you understand. He's a South Indian pal. He's better than Tao. We've got the King Prag.
I like it.
Yeah. I kind of had to take a breath, though. That was my problem. That's why I paused for the last bit.
Very nice presentation of that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
He's good at chanting.
The English Rose rapper, Ivanka Huska.
Well, you've already
in
heard
the
me.
house. So I think we should, you know, get a little chess album out. Anyone else think that? Ivanka's raps.
Yeah, I need to get my breath work, though, because, you know, it kind of, you've got to get the momentum going, because otherwise you have to go, and then, yeah.
I think every player in this tournament, all later than they deserve at least one chant today. I think that should be the goal for the spectators out there, our viewers. Try and come up with a chant for each player.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear one for Hans, wouldn't you? I mean, like, you know, Hans has been a bit of the, you know, star away from the board, isn't he? So who can make a good chant for Hans?
I can see David immediately start thinking about
What rhymes with hands?
Yeah.
dance.
Bands.
Yeah. Loads of words.
Yeah, quite a lot, you know. So, yeah.
Can't wait to see what the viewers come up with. But meanwhile, what an ugly move by Magnus. OK, maybe it's not so bad. The computer doesn't like it either, but he's giving away all the light squares on this left side of the board. He's stopping white from advancing further with his flank pawn, his A pawn. So he's blocking things up. Magnus loves to do that. He hates his opponents gaining space on the side of the board, but he's giving away the light squares when you have no light squared bishop. So that's my first instinct, at least. He's still laughing, Magnus.
What's going on
Still
today?
Just not focused.
No, not at all.
Is he listening to a podcast or something? That's really, I mean, like, but that last move, to my eyes, looks disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, because we wanted to move the bishop next, and here the bishop can now sit there forever. It's even better now because the other rook. I mean, he did some very peculiar things yesterday. Some of the moves from the world champion in this tournament yesterday and today are shocking me more than I've ever seen in any other tournament he's played. That move just looks so ugly to me. Yeah. What am I missing? What am I missing, guys? I mean, am I missing something?
I don't see it either. He must have been really scared of white pushing. Maybe his, if we show this on the analysis board, I guess the only explanation for Magnus's kind of pawn push here is that if he had developed, he was afraid of white stepping forward, the black king castling, and maybe the white rook stepping up to kick away the queen, and the queen actually lacking squares. The queen's only safe square is actually in the corner, or one of these two squares. Not ideal. So maybe this was what scared Magnus, this kind of rook swinging across the board. So in that regard, perhaps this is something that he wants to avoid. But as you say, Simon, after this pawn push, black doing the same. We do have a couple more moves, but this is an eternal outpost. White's bishop will love life on this square for the rest of the game, pinning down on this diagonal. And Wow. I mean, you mentioned shocking moves. Magnus has just planted his king in the middle of the board. I mean, this is a bit of an odd scenario at the best of times, but if white can somehow magic his pawn off the board, then suddenly the black king is just going to be toast in the centre. White lifting his rook up now, very logical from Firouzja, maybe aiming to kind of swing across and start attacking stuff, defending his knight across the board as well. But after the white knight comes out, we see an offer of a trade from Magnus. And the rooks do leave the board. I'm expecting now Magnus to kind of change his mind, take with the king, and start running this way. And there we go. Magnus's king has done some serious exercise in the last few moves. But long term, he's still in trouble. White has a passed pawn. White has a bind on the light squares on the queen side. What is Magnus going to do? He just has to tuck his king away and hope for the best.
Yeah. I have to say, it does, I mean, I feel like, and I'm going to quote a character from Catherine Tate, Nan, someone has taken liberties. And, I mean, he's just moved his king twice. He's moved his queen like 1, 2, 3 times. And then I just feel you can't play chess like that. You can't just get the rule book, rip it up, burn it. Yeah. They're there for a reason.
Big threat, I guess, on the board. White's rook wants to do the same kind of threat against the black queen. If the black king moves now, this is a matter of urgency. It needs to run away. Then suddenly, where's your queen going? Magnus, you don't really want to put your queen kind of on a passive square in the corner of the board. No queen wants to be sitting on a corner. If you put it here, still no active squares to come. Black could be playing without a queen. I mean, there's going to be ideas of white's bishop coming out, white's rook swinging across, trying to trap this queen. It looks terrifying now for Magnus Carlsen. He's got 2 problem pieces. And as Jovanka mentioned, these problem pieces have moved already several times.
Look at its time. Look at the time as well. Is this
going
right?
away again with his king.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I mean, this is just shock-a-minute stuff. White's rook now forcing the black queen into the corner. Have you ever seen a worse queen? Have you ever seen a more misplaced king? If black survives this, if Magnus survives this game, it's going to be a miracle.
David, can we just like do the journey of this queen? Like it started to go, it went to A5, and then it went back, and then it went all over to H4, and then it's gone back, and now it's probably going to end up on E8, where the king and the queen have kind of switched places. Yeah. I haven't really seen that before.
Yeah, this is maybe what Magnus is laughing about. He sees that he's actually going to, for example, let's say white just plays a random move. If he puts his queen on this square, he is actually going to have swapped around his king and queen. How often do you see this in chess? It's kind of a troll type of opening to play this in blitz games, bullet games, but Magnus has done it the long way around. He's swapped those guys, swapped those pieces.
I have no idea what he's doing.
Creative, but playing with fire.
It just seems kind of like I just don't understand this game. I really don't understand it. I mean, this idea of the rook coming up, I have to say I missed. You know, with Alireza's idea of pushing the pawn on the side of the board. It's a really good idea that you pointed out there, David. But this is just so ugly. Putting your queen in the corner, putting your king somewhere, moving it around. I don't understand it at all. And White's moves are very natural. White is just making normal, good moves. He's got some great squares for his bishop pair. He's got the long-term advantage of his this pawn in the middle. And all of his pieces look very, very nice. The knight might be able to jump in. Yeah, his knight's going to jump in next move, probably. I mean, it kind of looks like it should maybe be losing for black, simply just losing.
Yeah, it feels like if Magnus survives for 5 more moves, it will be a miracle.
I mean, where's the queen go now? You can't even move it to the troll square. I mean, it can't even go there. And,
square's covered.
And white's going to just look at this. The knight comes in. You're going to win at least the bishop pair with a great position. I mean, taking that bishop is a major threat. It's actually threatening to win the game immediately, I feel. And I don't, like you say, Jovanka, I don't think Magnus is going to last. And this is only move, like, what is it, move 24?
24.
I mean, yeah.
He gets to move 30, I think he'll have to thank the chess gods for Magnus.
Wow.
Doesn't really deserve to the way he's been playing, unfortunately.
I mean, Jordan van Voris's Queen A5, can we blame it on that move?
No, I don't think we can blame it on that because I think the position he got was OK. We can blame it on the Queen retreating. I mean, he could have just done normal stuff, which was just develop the pieces, get the king to safety. That's how the classical way of playing chess. This way was just weird.
He's running the whole way across the board with his king. He wants to keep heading across. He maybe wants to move the king across one square and plant it in front of his rook.
You can't even do that, can he? Because you're going to lose your queen. I mean, you can't... Where's that king going? You can't put the king on a dart square because you lose your queen or lose a piece. I mean, I don't understand where... this is really one of the most bewildering... Can't even say the word now. Bewildering games that I've seen.
And it's so weird to see Magnus smiling as well. He's usually very critical. OK, there we have it. Now he's not happy.
That's the first shake of the head we've seen today from Magnus, and it won't be the last shake of the head in this game, because it's just all gone wrong. All White needs to do is, I mean, I like your idea, Simon, at some point in the next move or two, trade off Black's bishop. Black's bishop is the only thing holding the position together. Trade that one off for White's knight, bring the White queen into the attack. At some point, there will be some deadly checks against the Black king. Black is playing without his rook. I mean, the problem for Firouzja here is that there's too many tempting moves. You could capture the Black knight, you could capture the Black bishop, you can just bring the White queen out immediately.
I think everything's winning.
Yeah.
I honestly just think nearly any move here is winning for White, and it's as simple as that. Because
even if White takes a time out and just kind of shuffles the White king somewhere pointlessly, he's probably still winning.
Yeah, I mean, I was just tempted by capturing the knight.
Win a pawn.
And then win a pawn,
Not bad
put
either.
the rook on the bottom row. You know, there's going to be a check with the queen on the light square. I just don't know. I mean, she doesn't actually have any squares.
I don't know what his next move
And
is
he's
either.
played knight takes knight.
Gone for a simple...
And-
And now you can win the queen for a bishop and rook if you want to.
He's going to have to go for that, right?
Let's show this on the board. There's a few moves there. So White did indeed win a pawn on the f6 square, and as you guys are advocating, the queen is now actually trapped. After moving, 5-6 times this Black queen, she's trapped on her own back rank, nowhere to run to. You have to give her up just for a rook and bishop, which isn't sufficient compensation. Here you have some kind of blockade, at least, with these pieces. They're kind of at least on stable squares, on dart squares right now, but as soon as the White queen joins the action, I mean, this is just going to be game over. How are you going to hold these pawns together long term? Eventually, as well, White has a 3 versus 2 advantage on this side of the board. One of the White pawns will become passed later on. And if you look at the kind of current position as well, Black's queen has kind of spent, around 6 moves this game so far. White's queen hasn't moved at all, but White's queen is still better than the Black queen. White's queen is still more flexible. So basically, White has used those extra 6 moves that Black has wasted really productively. Also, how many times has the Black king moved? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times?
I mean, you don't even need to win the queen immediately, do you?
I mean, you can that as well, you know.
That rook move is not going anywhere because Black can't really move anything. There's no squares for the Black pieces. White's bishop dominates. You can maybe bring your queen out first here. I mean, this is honestly one of the weirdest games I've seen in my time commentating here on the tour. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone has a bad game. So I guess we could put it down to that, really. You know, everyone. It happens to everyone. And
But it's strange with all the smiling and the laughing and
it is
not concentrated at all.
Yeah, that is what makes it even weirder, right? I mean, he's laughing his way to a terrible loss. So I you know, and maybe it's an embarrassment thing now that, you know.
But he was smiling long before he had a lost position, though.
And he's still grinning.
Yeah.
So what's going on then, guys? Why? Because someone explain to me what's
so
happening.
unlikely Magnus Carlsen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, Simon, everyone has one bad day. You can't help it. We thought that day was yesterday for Magnus, where he was just making these uncharacteristic one-move blunders. But to start today in a similar fashion, it's not even one-move blunders. It's just playing bizarre decisions that are almost inexplicable.
Yeah. And the only reason for Magnus Carlsen to smile right now is that it looks like Jan Christoph Duda is winning game 1 against Pragnananda, the bar all the way over to his side. Now we have some waving. Hi.
Wish they could see us waving back.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. They're waving to the camera. It's a full house in the Miami arena with spectators coming from all over the US to watch the top chess players in action. Maybe disappointed right now. Magnus Carlsen is not playing a good first game against Alireza Firouzja. And the one who has a really big reason to have a big smile now is Alireza Firouzja. Because, well, if Prag loses his match and Magnus loses his match to Alireza Firouzja, then he will be in the lead, the Frenchman, with 1 day to go. We're getting a great start to the day, drama-wise.
Yeah, huge drama, and that would be almost decisive. I mean, Firouzja, he's already played his two big rivals. He's already played Prag. Today, he will have played Magnus. So if he wins today's match, he's got it all in his own hands.
Yeah.
And, OK, now Black's queen attacks the white rook. Again, Magnus just wants to give up his queen. He's just saying, take my queen. It's trapped. White's rook can just step one square up the board. And that whole kind of exchange, that transition will happen. Here we go. The black queen is lost, and after the black queen disappeared, white's queen has gone to win a pawn. This one is just a matter of technique now. It should be relatively straightforward for Firouzja. White's queen just needs to move out the way so at some point. That black knight is pinned, tied down. Black's bishop is fixed on its square pretty much. Black's rook is active at least. That's the one positive for Magnus, for the world champion right now. Credit to Firouzja, he's kind of played really smoothly. He hasn't been disturbed by his opponent's really surprising moves. Sometimes when your opponent plays a bit provocatively, you get really disturbed. And White's queen comes back. Jovanka, you were...
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Firouzja might play it in a flashy way with the bishop coming to the c6 square. But that would have been a bit much, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, White's queen changes direction instead, maybe trying to go all the way up to the top of the board. There are entry squares in Black's camp. You can't keep the white queen up forever.
No, you can't.
Fortresses don't exist in this position.
I mean, the one thing that Firouzja has to be careful of is that simply, you know, that the white king could be potentially vulnerable to a back rank checkmate. But that's something that's pretty elementary, and Firouzja will not be so careless to allow such a thing like that.
I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out the way this game's going. I mean, not sure I'm watching these two play or if I'm watching a game, you know, primary school.
If we didn't know the two players, Simon, if someone submitted the score sheet and showed you the moves, you would
you would say. I mean, you would say like, yeah, White's playing good natural moves, but Black's played some really strange. You know, you honestly would, wouldn't you? I mean,
you'd probably say 1800, maybe not 2800.
Not even 1800.
Without being harsh, you think lower.
I mean, this whole queen journey is just so atypical because most players know, you know, you've got to develop your pieces. But like Simon says, everybody has an off day where somehow you think you can be creative and you think you can.
But he's still laughing. What's going on?
I don't know.
I don't get it. I mean.
I can't explain it, Simon.
Does he just want to give himself a challenge, just kind of throw away the first game and come back like he did yesterday against Duda? He was 2 points down yesterday against Duda.
I don't know. It's a bit unlike Magnus. I say it's a bit. It's really unlike Magnus.
Exactly, and now Black's rook is asked a question. Black's rook can actually take the pawn in front of it, White's h-pawn. So the black rook could get greedy, but it would end up on a really bad square. And White's queen is ready to come up to the top of the board and start attacking the black knight, attacking some pawns. I think that would be disastrous, almost. Magnus, I think he's more likely to bring the black rook somewhere on the 4th rank just to activate it or bring it back. This does stop at least White's queen entering the position. But, I mean, if we do a quick material count, White has a queen and 2 pawns. Black only has a rook and knight in return. So queen and 2 pawns, that's worth 11 points. Rook and knight worth 8. It's +3 on the counter in terms of material. Now the white queen, this is how versatile she is. She just checks, forces the black knight back to a bad square, hits the rook in the corner. Now the black king is the target.
No, the queen's going to come in and start taking those kingside pawns. I mean, it's completely over. It has been for a while. I mean, it's just like trying to prolong the game until move 30 is the only thing I can think. And OK, that's it, basically. Yeah.
It's over. Magnus Carlsen, he loses game 1, playing a horrible game here. The world #1. And laughing while doing it. It's very strange, but Alireza Firouzja, he takes the lead in this very crucial match in the FTX Crypto Cup. I'm very curious to see if we will see reactions in Miami, especially from Magnus. It would be nice to hear what this was all about. Nope. Yeah, we will have a reaction. Let's go to Miami.
What was it about?
Oh, you played well. It was a good game by him. Gotta do better.
This is very strange, you guys. What is Magnus Carlsen up to?
It's just hard to explain.
Yeah.
I'm speechless, to be honest. he seems in a good mood still. He's still capable of fighting back, of course. He's got white next. Firouzja is notoriously good with white, as we mentioned earlier. So a loss might have happened anyway, but that style of loss, he's just boosted Firouzja's confidence as well. It's surprising stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, Firouzja did play very well, but his moves, weren't particularly hard to find in the middle game. He did this like rook's pawn we talk about, but I don't know. I suppose if we think about Magnus in that game, and we talk about it, it's like, okay, he played a series of 3 or 4 bad moves, and then he was kind of hopeless situation. But it was very bizarre, very bizarre game. So
and you guys were not a big fan of the game, so we'll just skip analysing it. We don't want to learn from that game, I guess. But this one is also so important, you guys, for the tournament situation. Praggnanandhaa. First game against Jan-Christoph Duda. And is Duda winning this game 1?
It's looking good for Duda. If we do a quick count, both sides have the same number of pieces, but black has an extra pawn, and it's not just going to be 1 pawn, it's going to be a second extra pawn incoming. White's pawn on the c-file there is going to drop to the black rook or the black knight. And 2-pawn advantage here. It looks pretty much decisive. There we go. It's 2 pawns up now for Duda. White's bishop is not participating in the battle. The black knight looks very good right now. Black's pawns are perfectly placed. Black's king, rook active. It's all stacking up in the Polish player's favour. I think Praggnanandhaa, the only chance of saving this game is to somehow get his rook active, win a pawn back. But yeah, he's reliant now, Pragg, on some serious blunders from Duda, and you can tell on his body language he's distraught. A more normal game, this one, but just it looks like the older player here in Duda, in this case, has outplayed his young opponent.
Yeah, and I think we are looking at the end because Black's knight is probably going to dive into the d3 square and start attacking some pawns. And there's just really not that much that Pragg can do to stop any of this. And he gives a check. King is probably going to take a step back, attack the rook.
That's what we call a spite check. It doesn't really help the position. It's just you want to throw in 1 check before you resign. And the black king defends all its pawns, gains time against the white rook. Yeah, black's about to win a 3rd pawn when that white rook moves. And therefore, Praggnanandhaa gives up. He resigns, and Duda takes the win.
Wow, he lost his match yesterday, Praggnanandhaa, and a horrible start to the day. He is one of the players fighting to win the tournament, but a great win for Jan-Christoph Duda. He started out with a win against Magnus Carlsen as well yesterday.